For the last 10 years, AGWA has been working globally on 6 continents on water and climate issues, mostly from an adaptation perspective. And the message that most people really hear around climate change and around water in particular is often long, very frightening lists of negative, scary impacts. What I'd like to say, actually, though, is that climate change, in my experience, is something that is an opportunity to convene people around a different set of issues, often surprising groups of people, and with maybe a shared sense of concern to develop more productive and positive solutions. As an example, in AGWA, we tend to we're a network globally, mostly of technical water professionals who also tend to work quite extensively in the space of governance and policy. What we find is that that climate change is presenting because through novel problems, novel threats, we're developing much more integrated approaches so that we can bring together new groups of stakeholders. They may be from traditional development areas such as agriculture, rural development, urban areas, with new groups, say people interested in land use change, ecosystems, maybe people who identify explicitly around resilience issues, and have them talk and redefine these problems at a much higher level. So if our sense is that if we can define a problem instead of in a traditional narrow development sense, but actually link a wide range of problems together in a more connected way, we can actually come up with maybe a series of connected solutions. And often, again, in our experience, is a strong sense that we need to have policy, governance, and more technical approaches really brought together in the same room and talked about at the same time. This is not just an expert silo process. It has to be envisioned in a really broad way. As an example, in Mexico City, over the past few years, through a political crisis that they've had in terms of a large change of government in a megacity with some 20 million people, they have lost the national and state level ability to move forward with addressing equity issues, basic water access issues. And what has happened instead is that groups like AGWA have banded together with civil society, with a wide range of government groups, with development banks, with donors, some 40 or 50 different groups all together, and really developed a kind of integrated long-term plan that works really with stakeholders defining what resilience looks like in their goals, in their vision of what a future Mexico City should be. And then that can be translated into a whole series of integrated projects that may come from lots of different organizations, that they're owned by different groups, but that they form a much more coherent and I think ultimately positive vision of what a resilient Mexico City should look like. One of the main issues that came out of engaging with hundreds of local stakeholders was a simple question of the risk of climate change exacerbating essentially injustice in water access, and that was the most important issue. Other secondary issues included things like ensuring that infrastructure was maintained or expanded in capacity, that ecosystems were revived and or protected, and that institutions were really strengthened to be able to cope with a shifting climate and political landscape over time. These are really big ideas. These are the ideas that we need for the 21st century, and I would argue even into the 22nd century. And I think that climate change and water should be viewed as a coherent opportunity to link a much more positive sense of what DFID is doing into the future.